For episode number 9, let's make something you would actually use a GUI for. Let's actually make a GUI start to finish. Won't be too fancy or anything, but you'll get the process down. So one thing I love doing with my GUIs are creating like log files, or if you want to create some sort of budget or something like that, it works the same. But reading and writing to text files is really handy. So inside your GUI, if you make like a budget, for instance, it's just one example, then you can have like a text box and you can write in there how much you saved or how much you want to save, and then you can hit a save. You can make a save button, hit the save button, and then when you open up the program again, it'll read from that file it just wrote to, and you'll basically have just the interaction with the GUI. You won't really have to do a whole lot with the text file individually. It's kind of how actual GUIs work. This is a super simple version of that, but you'll get the process down. You can actually make programs for yourself that save data and all that. So we're gonna import GUI 0, and the asterisk again up here is import everything. So instead of writing everything you imported, like app or text box or picture or whatever, that's just everything. It's a little easier. And we're going to import OS. We're going to have to import OS. That's the OS module. If you don't have that installed, you can probably just install that with pip. And then I always import time pretty much on everything because you'll probably use it for everything. Let's set up the GUI first. So we're going to go to app equals big app. Alright, so we're not going to do a layout or anything like that right now. And you got to write this, kind of runs the app. So if you control S F5, we get an error. Okay, well, I just made them forward slashes and it worked. Don't really know what's behind that, but that's alright. We'll figure that out for later. It works now. You don't have to do the path like this if you're creating, So if you're creating the log files in this directory with your code file, your Python file, you don't have to specify a path. You can just say we'll get there, but you can just kind of specify like the file name, and then since your Python file is in this directory, it'll just automatically save whatever you write or read. It'll write to or read from this directory. But sometimes I like to specify the path right here. So now path is like a variable. But let's dig into this so you can understand what I'm talking about. So now we made an app box. So if we want to do something like budget, you would go to like text 1 equals, you can name that whatever you want, equals big text, and then let's see, app, that's what it belongs to, and then text is going to be, let's just say current month. So, and then we're not going to do a size or anything like that. Let's just leave it default, and then we're going to go to text box 1 equals big text box, capital B, and then that belongs to the app as well. We're not doing a grid layout or anything like that. Text equals, actually text is going to equal nothing, so we can leave that blank. We'll specify a width, that way it's, well, let's just leave that blank for now. Control S, F5, yeah, so let's make this a little bit bigger. So we'll just do size, oops, I cannot type, equals 40, I guess. Let's see how big that is, and then let's do a property for text box 1, and that's gonna be a width, and then let's do one for the height, and that's gonna equal 5. No, actually it's not multi-line, so it's gonna equal 1 regardless, so actually we don't have to do a height. Unless you do a multi-line, height doesn't matter. Alright, so now we have our text box and our text. So that's going to be the current month, and then this is the text box which you can write in. You want to save that much money, which is a lot, so it'd be like $200. Alright, so now that we have this, let's get down the mechanics that kind of run in the background. Let's make that a little bit neater there. So let's make a function called read, and then this is going to read from the text box, read from here. So it's going to get the value, read the value, and then when the app opens, this will already be here, or whatever you put in there will be there. So that's what read is going to do. We're also going to do another function, which is write. So whatever you put in here, when you click like a save button, which actually we need to add a save button. So when you click, when you write something here and click a button, then whatever is in your text box will write to a text file. Hopefully I'm explaining this all right. So let's go to button 1. Button 1 equals big button, capital B. Command right now is going to equal none. We will change that in a minute. And then we don't need to specify anything else really except for text, and it's going to be save. So now if we control SF5, we get that because that is a open function, which is going to give us an error. Alright, cool. So now we have this. Save button doesn't do anything right now. So back to our functions. Save but stands for save button. How about that? Actually, for the so the write function is going to be the save button. So whenever we click that, it's going to write to the file. So we don't need this. But we will need the read though. So for the read, we're going to use so let's just say so this is going to be where the OS function comes in, the OS module comes into play. So we're going to open a file. Now that file is not going to be there right now. We're going to save a file with the save button before we close the program, and then once we reopen the program, this will come into play, and we'll just name the files in these two functions the same. So we're going to open a file. Let's just call that one current month file. Really bad with names. And it's going to be a text file, so we'll just do a extension there, .text. We're going to do a comma space, and we're going to do a read. We don't need it to do anything else but read. So we're going to go to text box 1 dot value. So that's going to mean the text box, like whatever's in the text box, that's going to be the and then after that we're going to close the file. So it'll be, let's see, text box 1 dot close. Okay, so that one should be done, I think. Haven't done this for a little while. That one should be done. So we specified this as a variable, and that's box 1 is going to open this file. Like I said, it's going to be in the same directory as your Python file. So the text box 1.value equals box1.read. So let's go ahead and put an update under here. So it'll be text box 1.repeat. Actually, we can do, let's see, repeat is going to repeat it. We can just do an after. We don't have to have it repeating. And then let's just say after 100 milliseconds, we're going to go to read. So after 100 milliseconds, do that. So when we open it, after 100 milliseconds, it will do this function. So this function is going to be this value of the text box right here is going to be that text file. Hopefully that makes sense. Now for the save button, we're going to do basically the same thing, but just a little different. And this is all in the OS module, so if you need to look up the documentation for that, it is out there for you. So we can do something like save file. So you can name this part whatever you want. If I'm not mistaken, this has to be here, file, capital F, specified in the OS module documentation. So that is going to, let's see, open. Alright, so this is where you have to, if you started with like the read function, we call the text file this. So we're going to have to call the text file the same thing here. But this is where we're actually going to be making the text file, because currently in my directory, I don't have a text file. But we're going to use the append method. Well, either method you use will make a text file if it doesn't already exist. But we're going to end up using the append method, and I'll explain that in a minute. So it's going to be the same file here, and then that's going to be append, like I said. Now with the append method, that will create this file if it's not already there. But you can also, the append is you can use it over and over again without destroying the old data. That's what that is. So if you put in 200 here, and then you save and you clear it out, you put 300, you save, you clear it out, you put 400. In your text file, you'll have all those numbers there. So if you have a GUI with some sort of a log file, let's just say their times and dates, a little bit more organized, you're not going to overwrite any text in the same file. You can use write for this demonstration. I just usually use append unless you're doing something specific. So we're going to save file, .write. So we're going to use the %s as a marker, and then that %s is going to be text box 1.value. And then whenever you're done with something, you're going to close it. So save file .close. And we don't have to update that function under here, because when you, so this, we put this update here because the only way that the program is going to call this function is to put a line down here that updates this function. But for instance, the writing we're doing is going to be activated, if you will, by the pressing of the button. So that's the trigger. So we don't need to put another line under here updating this. Unless you want it to auto save, then you would do that. So let's see, this should work. Well, let's just see if it works. And we have an error already. Oh, we have an error because that file isn't yet created. So let's see if we can create that file, and then next time we open it, we shouldn't get this error. So if we put in 200, let's just say we want to save 200. We go save. And this error might be preventing us from running this program correctly, so let's just do a little cheat. Usually you will have an error. Well, actually, either way, you can let's just prevent this from running, because that's what's creating the error. Oh, I forgot to do. So the push button isn't doing anything because the command isn't updated here. So we're going to call this the name of the function. It's the little things that get you. So now the button, the command for the button is this function. So it should give us an error at least. So 200, and we're going to hit the save. Let's open this so you can see it. So save. So now we have a text file that is what we called it in the program. Current month file, that's what we named it. So now let's just close this, and if we reopen this line, I don't know why I just did that. If we do this and uncomment that line, Control S F5, we shouldn't get an error, but we did. I named this wrong, so that should be box 1. Yeah, so that one should be box 1. Okay, so now we don't get any errors. Okay, so let's just do this so you know we don't get any errors from that. Okay, so go over here, over there. Alright, cool. So we just opened up the program and it says 200 because it's reading from what we last saved. So if we go to text file, we can double click to open it and it says 200. So if we change this to 300, we can hit save, close the program, reopen the program, F5. Now it's going to say 300. So we're using the append. That's why it's like that. So if you're doing some sort of a budget, you probably wouldn't want it like that if you have multiple text boxes and stuff like that. So you would just change that to write, because let's just say you get paid twice a month and you update this twice a month because you're able to save from each paycheck, then you would want the write. So you would want to be able to overwrite what you just put in there. So that read as 200, 300, so we'll just change it to 400, hit save. When you reopen the program later, it'll just say 400. So the writing with a W here, so the write, that'll overwrite with whatever you put in there. The append will keep what you have and write the new thing. And the reading is just reading. It doesn't do anything else. I hope that all made sense. If you have any questions, maybe something I can kind of clear up, please let me know in the comments. It's greatly appreciated. I do answer the comments. I don't have a lot of subscribers on this channel or my other channel, so I do go through the comments and I try to be as helpful as I can. So please leave a comment, and if you like what you saw, subscribe.